Okay, I'm back with my WWE Monday Night Raw review. Before I get into the review, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of news. Right now in TNA, there is still, no word on what the outcome of this Russo thing is. He was fired as the head writer, but no one really knows what that's going to mean yet for TNA. Apparently, this happened a few days ago, and the news was just now recently released, but the really big news with TNA is that Jesse Sorensen was seriously injured last night at the pay-per-view. If you watch the footage, you can see that Zema Ion really, when he hit the moonsault onto Jesse Sorensen, he was way too close to the guardrail. They shouldn't have tried the move on that side of the apron, and his legs he had to tuck in to avoid hitting them on the guardrail, so his knees hit Jesse Sorensen directly on the top of his head, and apparently his body went numb and he couldn't feel his arms or legs, and he was in intensive care, but they think it was some kind of vertebrae and his neck got broke, but he is now starting to get feeling back in his arms and legs again, so that's good. And I also wanted to tell anyone who didn't know that WWE is doing these YouTube shows. One's with Dolph Ziggler, and it's kind of like Tosh.0, where he goes through like funny clips on the internet and makes fun of the people. Another one's with Santino. I only saw the first episode of the Santino one, and I expected more, but it could get a lot better because I think Santino really is a funny guy. Um, and another one I watched was called Are You Serious with Road Dogg and Josh Matthews, where they watch really bad clips from the WWE like library and WCW, and it's really good. I really like this one. So for anybody who doesn't know, you should check those out. You may find something you like on there. And now I will get into the Raw review for February 13th, 2012. Raw took place in San Diego. I'm going to go ahead and say that this was a subpar Raw. I, I didn't really like the matches very much. They didn't do anything for me. And the only good thing about this Raw was probably the promo with HBK and Triple H and the new Taker video package. Other than that, I was disappointed with this Raw. It was kind of subpar. I expected more for the go-home show before Elimination Chamber. I mean, they got a pay-per-view to build, and it just didn't feel like much of a Raw at all to me. So maybe it's just me, but I felt that way for sure. They start the show off with a recap of Kane cornering Eve from last week. The show opens with Kane backstage, and he's saying that there is nothing he won't do to get to Cena, or to get Cena to embrace the hate. He says two things are going to happen tonight. Cena's going to embrace the hate, and someone's going to take a ride in the ambulance. They go down to the ring, and all the Elimination Chamber guys, all six of them, are in the ring with Jerry Lawler standing behind podiums. You got Truth, Miz, Jericho, Punk, Kofi, and Truth, or Dolph Ziggler. I think I said Truth twice, but they're all in the ring and they're standing behind podiums like it's a presidential debate. And they introduce all the guys, and CM Punk gets the biggest pop of the night. It was definitely a crowd that loved CM Punk. Jerry Lawler says they're all going to get asked a question and they have 45 seconds to answer it. This was ridiculous because they all went over 45 seconds. I don't even know why they would give them a time limit. It's irrelevant. Why give them a time if you're not going to follow it? Just let them do their promos. That's what they did anyway. So they're all going to get asked a question. Lawler asks why CM Punk's going to walk out as champion at Elimination Chamber when the odds are so stacked against him. And before he can answer, John Laurinaitis comes out and he says he's happy to be here. He thanks the board of directors. He thanks the universe. He says he is the vice president of talent relations, the intern general manager of Raw, the same thing he does all the time. And that's really it. And then he says thank you and he walks away. So I guess it's just to interrupt Punk. Besides another backstage segment later in the show, that's really all Laurinaitis does here tonight on Raw. So they go back to CM Punk to answer the question, and he says that first he wants to tell the fans that this debate is not going to end in violence. The second thing is he wants to tell Laurinaitis that he sincerely wants to congratulate him on keeping his job, and that he must have some kind of pics of bestiality or something involving the board of directors for that he can hold over their heads to allow him to keep his job, which I thought was funny but wasn't very PG. And then he says that he is going to win Elimination Chamber because he is the best in the world. And Chris Jericho just stares at him, and Chris Jericho's jacket's on and it's blinking during all of this, which was funny. Lawler asked Dolph Ziggler what's his opinion on this. And he says he's better than all these wrestlers, he's better than the audience, and he can actually back it up. But then you have guys like R-Truth who don't even know what state they're in, which is a reference to, there was this one Raw where Truth came out when he was a babyface before the heel turn, and he was doing his "What's Up" entrance, and he yells out the wrong state. And it was on Botchamania and a bunch of other places, so this was pretty funny, but that's what Dolph is talking about here. So R-Truth starts to say that if he is elected, then he's going to trade Dolph and Vicky to SmackDown for Hornswoggle and a box of spiders. He just does some comedy stuff here. He acts like he's running for office. Dolph makes fun of him. Jerry the King Lawler says he can continue. He says, "Thank you, Your Honor." And it's kind of just a gag. He says if he's elected, all the fans can chant "what" during the Pledge of Allegiance. Fans chant "what" to him, but he says, "Don't what me." And then he says, "Okay, what me." Because, he's a babyface now, so he's got to go with it and act like it doesn't bother him. He talks about how he's going to take that box of spiders, and he's going to make a spider stew, and little Jimmy can watch him drink the spider stew for energy, and that's how he's going to win the Elimination Chamber. This reminded me of Boogeyman for some reason. Just goofy stuff like this. And that makes no sense. Then he says, "God bless little Jimmy and the United States of America." And that was it, really. So then The Miz starts talking, and he says that he was the main event of Mania last year. He says that Kofi Kingston is an afterthought. R-Truth is insane, which is probably true as far as his character goes. CM Punk has lost both times he's been in the chamber, and he's going to crumble faster than the cookie cream in his ice cream bars. And then it shows CM Punk, and he's just kind of laughing at this line. Miz looked like a joke. He says that it's Dolph Ziggler's first time in the chamber, and the only time he's scored is with an old woman. Really bad line. And he goes off on Chris Jericho, but he gets cut off by Kofi Kingston, who says, yes, he has been an afterthought. He's been overlooked, but he may enter the chamber an afterthought, but there's a good chance he'll walk out as champion. Chris Jericho says that he is surrounded by neophytes and says that he truly is the best in the world. Says he's been in more chambers than anyone else. He's eliminated more stars in the chamber. And the last time he was in an elimination chamber, he walked out champion. He tells Punk to look at him, because Punk's kind of like ignoring him. And he says, look at me. And he says, you might as well give up that title now, because your master has come back to reclaim what is his. And I thought that line was freaking awesome. Then he says, Punk's ignoring him, and Punk finally looks at him and says, oh, were you saying something to me? I was busy thinking about you finishing 7th on Dancing with the Stars, which was another great line. Dolph Ziggler says this is a joke. Truth starts to make a dolphin joke and dolphin sounds. Lawler says let's go ahead and get the first match underway with Chris Jericho versus Kofi Kingston. But Jericho ignores him. He takes his jacket off and he walks right up to Punk. He pushes some of the podiums over. He stares at Punk. CM Punk just raises the belt. Jericho turns to walk away and Kofi Kingston hits him in the face with the Trouble in Paradise. So they ring the bell and they start the match, and it's Chris Jericho versus Kofi Kingston. Kofi looked good here. I know of all the people going into the chamber, he's probably the least likely to win. So in order to build up the match, they probably just wanted to book Kofi Kingston to look kind of strong here. And he has a good match with Jericho. It gets a good amount of time. Um, it's not that the match itself was bad. I just didn't care. These guys were just thrown together, and it just wasn't exciting. Um, so yeah, like I said, none of the matches here tonight really excited me at all. They all kind of feel like this, just thrown together for the sake of the pay-per-view, and it felt like a lot of filler. But anyways, they did make Kofi look strong. He gets caught in the walls of Jericho, but he gets out by getting the ropes. He hits another Trouble in Paradise on Jericho, but he gets the ropes. And then Jericho hits him with the code breaker to the face for the win. But it still made Kofi Kingston look pretty good here. I don't think that momentum's going to carry on. They're probably just doing this for the chamber, and once the chamber's over, Kofi goes right back to the mid-card. Same thing with Truth. Same thing with Miz. Miz is actually in a worse spot since he didn't catch Truth last week on Monday Night Raw, and apparently that made a lot of the other wrestlers, including Triple H, very angry with the Miz. So yeah, and it's not like the Miz was getting booked great before this. So after this, it's probably going to be a lot worse for the Miz. Backstage, John Cena's talking to Zack Ryder, who's in a wheelchair with a neck brace and a back brace. Zack Ryder says he wants to see Eve because it's almost Valentine's. John Cena says, I understand, but Kane is after you. How about you stay in my locker room and I'll go bring Eve to you? So Zack Ryder says, all right. They cut to John Laurinaitis and David Otunga. Otunga says that I'm very happy you're the general manager of Raw again, but they didn't say you're the permanent GM. But I have an idea that's going to make you the permanent GM of Raw and the permanent GM of SmackDown. I personally was kind of thinking that with this whole Laurinaitis angle, and I don't know if I've said this before on here, but if Triple H wants to be the GM, maybe they do some kind of stipulation where at WrestleMania, if Triple H loses to The Undertaker, once the match is made, that John Laurinaitis becomes the permanent GM. And if Triple H wins at Mania, he's the new GM. That way they can tie up all these loose ends for the storyline, and John Laurinaitis can just be the general manager because it's better if it's a heel, and he's a good one right now, and he's got a lot of heat. So I think they're going to keep Laurinaitis as the general manager, and this would be a great way to tie it all together. And I don't think Triple H is going to win at WrestleMania, so this would fix all the problems. But maybe I am just making too much sense. So Cole and Lawler are talking, and Michael Cole's showing off his new action figure. They'd show a recap of SmackDown last week, where Randy Orton kind of got into a little brawl with the Big Show and ended up getting choke slammed, which apparently didn't come on the air. They just had to recap it here, what happened once the show ended. Daniel Bryan comes out, and he's sitting at ringside, and they go to the match, which is the Big Show versus Randy Orton. Average match. I mean, you can't really expect much. Actually, you know what? This wasn't even average. This turned bad. Michael Cole, I guess because Daniel Bryan's sitting right next to him, even though he's not doing commentary, he's just sitting there watching the show, or the match, is actually talking about Bryan like he's a great champion. He's kind of trying to put him over on the mic. They did a cool spot where Randy Orton hits that thing where he usually drapes the guy over the middle rope and hits the DDT, but since it's the Big Show, he did it over the top rope. That was cool, but he goes for an RKO, and it is completely botched. The Big Show just falls down. The fans start chanting, "You fucked up." I know Orton has anger management problems, so I bet this really, really bothered him. But yeah, he's got the Big Show up for the RKO, and then he brings his arm down. Big Show takes the bump, and Randy Orton never falls with it, if you can picture that. So they set it up again. He hits the RKO. Daniel Bryan runs in, hits Orton with the title. Big Show starts to get up. He hits Big Show with the title. Michael Cole starts to say he's sneaking out again and turns on Daniel Bryan, I guess now that he's not next to him. And Daniel Bryan walks out. Okay, now here is where the show actually got really good. HBK comes out. He says, it's been a while since I've been here, and I'm going to tell you guys that I am nervous. He says, why do people always ask him why he comes around at WrestleMania? And he says you can't have WrestleMania season without Mr. WrestleMania. He says that he was waiting last week for Triple H to accept The Undertaker's challenge, and he never accepted it. He says he was shocked, and he called John Laurinaitis to see if he could come talk to Triple H, but then he was thinking about it, and he said, he got me. Triple H got me. He's just playing with The Undertaker. He's just baiting him. So he wants Triple H to come out and tell him that he's going to face Taker at Mania. So Triple H comes out. They do the DX pose where they put their arms in front of each other like crosses. And Triple H says, it's good to see you. It would be nice to see you more. Says he wants to hear... Shawn says that he wants to hear he's going to face The Undertaker. Triple H says that he's not going to face The Undertaker. And that he knows what he did to The Undertaker and that he can't do that again. Shawn says, I know you're out here, you're doing the suit thing, but this is me talking, so tell me the truth. And Triple H says that him and Taker had an epic battle. Taker won the battle, but Triple H won the war. He saw him, he couldn't get out of his own power, and that if he has to wrestle him again, he's going to have to end him. I assume murder him. He says he's not the guy to end him. And Shawn says, what are you talking about? You are that guy. You end people all the time. You have no compassion or mercy. Well, I guess if you're a mid-carder, he'll end you. Shawn says that, so I guess you married that chick and you became one of them. You're a sellout. Triple H says, I'm not a sellout. I'm investing in a future for all of them. And I guess he's talking about the fans. And he says that this is something that you can't understand, Shawn. And Shawn says that he may be a simple guy, but he knows that backing down from a challenge makes you a coward. Triple H goes to walk away, but Shawn pulls him back and says, I'm not done yet. He says, I don't care about the suit. I don't care about the money. A coward is still a coward. And he leaves this time, and Shawn says, that's right. A coward always walks away. So Triple H comes back in the ring, and he says, Shawn, I have real responsibilities. You say all this stuff, but you don't understand it. You go home and your life is easy. I have all these responsibilities. All of this you see will one day be mine. And the responsibility of that weighs a ton. And Taker is not an opponent. I used to see him as an opponent. I used to see Undertaker as someone you would go through. But now I see Undertaker as a brand. And that brand means business. And killing that brand off is bad for business. So he goes on to say that him and Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker are the end of an era. And Shawn's retired. Triple H has other stuff going on. And The Undertaker is all that's left from an era in wrestling that is no more. And this was really depressing to me. This is one of the reasons the promo was so great, because it is true on the level of these main event guys are gone. The Undertaker really is all that's left. And I was just thinking, man, when I was a kid watching The Undertaker, I can't believe I'm sitting here and it's going to be his last match. I mean, he may come back for another one, but as far as his career goes, he is pretty much retired. I mean, let's be honest. just because he's coming back for one final match. He hadn't been on TV in a year. I mean, he's retired. But, there are other guys from that era if you want to consider them. I mean, you have Mark Henry, Kane, Big Show, Christian. You got some guys like that left. But still, if you're talking main event guys, yeah, it's really just Taker now. So it is kind of a depressing thing to think about. But anyways, Triple H goes on to say that he's not going to end that era for his own ego. He's not going to end that era for Shawn's ego, who wants to live vicariously through him to get done what he couldn't. And then Shawn says, that was a great speech. It may have worked on anybody else, but not me. And I am at peace, and you're not at peace. So he tells Triple H to look him in the eye and say he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to end the streak. He doesn't need it. And to say, look him in the eyes and tell him no. Triple H turns his head and says no, and Shawn's like, look me in the eyes. So he looks him in the eyes, and he does this stare down for a long time, and then he says no. Shawn Michaels looks, disappointed, and he walks out. Then Triple H gets ready to walk out, and they cut to the Undertaker's video package. They did a new video package. He doesn't say anything new. It's the same thing he said last week. However, this time he takes out a razor, and he cuts his hair off. So there you go. They got rid of the wig angle. I know a lot of people were worried, how is he going to do this with the wig? What are they going to do about the Undertaker's hair? And, well, they cut it off, so I guess that's what's going to happen. The Undertaker video package was awesome. He's sitting in his lair again, and he's just cutting his hair off while they play this weird music. Sounds like 9 Inch Nails or something. And he cuts his hair off and just says it's not over. So this was really good. I liked this. The next match is Dolph Ziggler versus R-Truth. I felt like it was just thrown together. It was okay, I guess. Dolph Ziggler goes to do his showboating where he does the sit-ups with R-Truth. And R-Truth catches him in a small package and gets the win. I think it's the same thing they're doing with Kofi, where they're just trying to build up the weaker guys in the chamber match. After the chamber, they'll probably not lose or not win a match again for a long time. Backstage, Santino is talking to Zack Ryder. He offers him some of his homemade breath strips, which are garlic. Just some comedy. Beth Phoenix comes out, and she's doing some commentary on the Divas match, which is Tamina versus Brie Bella. Quick match. Tamina dominates her, hits her with the Snuka Splash, and her and Beth have a stare down. I'll tell you what I think is going to happen with this, and I am pretty sure. I would probably bet money on this. They announced that it's going to be Tamina versus Beth Phoenix at Elimination Chamber, right? So I'm pretty sure that at the chamber match, Karma's going to come out. And I guess maybe attack her. I don't know. Get her disqualified so she can keep the title. Something like that. Then they have the rest of the time to build up the pay-per-view match at WrestleMania of Beth Phoenix versus Karma, where Karma will win the Divas Championship at WrestleMania and become the new Divas Champion. So that's what I think is going to happen, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that now because I'm pretty sure it will happen that way and go down that way. They show a Rock video package of him going to some talk shows, promoting his movie. Backstage is John Cena with Josh Matthews, who's going to get his thoughts on what he thought of the Rock video, when before he can say anything, he hears a woman screaming. So he runs backstage and he sees Kane, who has Eve trapped in the back of an ambulance. This was horrible. She's not trapped, she just crawls in the back, and then Kane stares at her and shuts the doors. Like, why would she run into an ambulance? So stupid. But Kane gets in the ambulance. He acts like he's going to drive away with Eve. Eve jumps out at the last second. Cena catches her. They kiss. They turn and look over their shoulder, and Zack Ryder saw the whole thing. So Zack Ryder is upset now. He's pissed off. Cena's kissing his girlfriend. Or who he wants to be his girlfriend. So It goes to commercial. When it comes back, we see Eve apologizing to Zack Ryder. She says it was in the heat of the moment, and she really cares about Zack, but she just wants to be friends. You can hear the crowd boo or go, yeah, something like that. But then they go to the next match, and it's Miz versus Punk. Punk wins with the Anaconda Vice. I expected Chris Jericho to run in here and try and screw him over. Because I thought since Miz is the weaker guy in the chamber match that Miz would need the win. But I guess because it's the Miz and he's in the doghouse right now that he just lost clean, tapped out. Shows Jericho watching backstage. He's just smiling. We see the ambulance pull back into the arena. John Cena comes out to the ring. And he says that was an awkward moment back there at the ambulance. He says he tried to apologize to Zack Ryder, but Zack wouldn't listen. He says he's sorry, and that this was Kane's plan all along to turn his friends against him and turn the WWE Universe against him. He says that might work on a lot of guys, but it's not going to work on him. And there are people here who think that it's going to get to me. It's going to get me to a breaking point. The fans actually start to chant, "We all hate you." Now, at first I was thinking, are they saying we don't hate you? But no. Apparently they were chanting, "We all hate you." And I mean, it's pro wrestling, but that's gotta hurt. I don't care who you are. So Cena says he's proud to be who he is. It's not gonna get to him. He rises above hate. He tells them to continue thinking that he can't fight. The fans start thinking he's a fruity pebble with lady parts. The fans start to chant "Fruity Pebbles." He says he's going to continue to do what he does, what he always does, and says he's going to win at the Elimination Chamber against Kane. Kane's going to leave in an ambulance. And he says, "I have a message for The Rock too," but then Zack Ryder comes down. He comes to the top of the stage and he's in his wheelchair and he takes out the crutches and he hobbles his way down to the ring. He slaps the microphone out of Cena's hand and he slaps Cena in the face. For some reason, this forces John Cena to take his shirt off. I mean, Zack Ryder's in a neck brace, a back brace. He had to have crutches to get down here. But he hit Cena, so Cena's got to take his shirt off and get ready like he's going to whip this guy's ass, who's crippled. The fans chant, "Throw it back," to whoever got the t-shirt. And Zack Ryder goes to hit Cena again. Cena catches his arm. He balls up his fist like he's going to hit Zack Ryder. And then he backs away. Zack Ryder falls down. And he starts to hobble his way back up the ramp to his wheelchair. Now, to me, Zack Ryder looks like the babyface here. I mean, he's the one who's injured. He's the one who's going through all this stuff. And it looks like Cena could be a heel here. However, Kane comes on the Titantron. And he says that Cena has done worse to Zack Ryder than even he could imagine. That Cena, kissing Eve has hurt him way worse than anything he can do. And that Cena's finally embraced the hate. And Kane feeds off of hate. And that he's going to make it so that after Elimination Chamber, Cena can't compete again till SummerSlam. We could only dream. Then he says that let's all have a round of applause for Cena. And he comes out and he pushes Zack Ryder off the stage. Now, as soon as Zack Ryder came out in a wheelchair, I knew he was going off the stage. I thought maybe he would go off the stage. I thought a lot of things could happen, but I knew he would get hurt by Kane somehow. So Kane pushes him off the stage, and he took a crazy bump here. It looked like he could have hurt his legs falling because he was in the wheelchair. And it looked like he could have busted his knees or blew out his ankles or something here. But it was a pretty nasty bump. Cena runs over to him. Kane escapes. Cena and Eve watch Zack Ryder get stretchered out again. They have really killed this guy. I mean, he's been injured so many times now. He's going to be in a full body cast the next time we see Zack Ryder. But I think Zack Ryder is probably going to be the one to turn heel. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do this. It'll probably have to be after WrestleMania, because after Elimination Chamber, they're only going to be building towards Mania. But I was thinking maybe Kane drags Zack Ryder to hell, and then Zack Ryder kind of becomes a disciple of Kane and does his bidding. Zack Ryder embraces the hate and turns on Cena. I thought maybe something like that is what's going to go down here, because I don't think Cena's going to turn heel. It would be great if he did. I think Randy Orton's probably going to turn heel before Cena. And for this angle, I think the only thing they can do is Zack Ryder's injured for a long time now. So after WrestleMania, they start to build up Zack Ryder as a heel versus John Cena. So that's what I think is going to happen. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know it was kind of long, but I wanted to make sure I told you everything that happened in the promos. So I hope you liked the review. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Like the videos, leave some comments. And I will be back again with some movie reviews Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I'll be back Thursday for the TNA Impact review. So thanks for listening. Bye.